A couple of years ago, myself and my wife were backpacking in South America, and our aim was to go from the very south tip of South America, Patagonia, all the way up overland, and then to travel into Central America and just keep going northbound. But there's a part where you get between South America and Central America where the border is really dangerous, between Colombia and Panama, and it's notorious for drug smuggling, kidnappings, all that kind of stuff. It's called the Darien Gap. So in order to cross from Colombia into Panama, you really have two options. You either fly or you go by boat, because the land crossing is too dangerous. Now, we decided to go by boat, and the boat journey would take 3 days and 2 nights. It's an absolutely stunning boat journey, and the journey started really well. We got on this little catamaran. You can picture these catamarans with these two parts that go in the water, and there's this like middle bit that you have a table and all the communal area and a kitchen and things. It was a small boat designed to take about 16 people, but it was slightly overcrowded. There were 18 of us. There were also some cats, and the journey went really well. It was beautiful sailing conditions. We started in the evening of the first day, travelled through the night into the next day, and had a stunning day, kind of catching fish, chilling out, enjoying the water, enjoying the scenery. It was genuinely going brilliantly and a beautiful journey. Second night, we went to bed, and we were sleeping in one of the sides of this catamaran. So it's a really kind of small bed. It's kind of, if you kind of picture something about the size of a coffin, it's kind of pretty cramped in there, or pretty cozy. And as we were going along in the night, it was lovely. The kind of movement of the water rocked us to sleep, and then we heard this loud crashing noise, and we woke up all of a sudden, and we were pretty confused. You don't normally hear loud crashing noises in boats, so it's a little bit alarming. And we looked around, and I noticed a bit of water on the floor. It was a point that we heard the captain shouting, "Everyone, get your life jackets on," that we were like particularly alarmed. We thought, wow, something is really kicking off here. Now, we were backpacking, so all our possessions that we were using for months and months, we were carrying with us. And the way we would do it is we'd have these big bags of all of our kind of clothes and non-valuable stuff in, and then we'd have these smaller bags with our kind of valuable stuff. Now, as travel influencers and travel bloggers, we kind of had laptops, cameras, bit of technology, that kind of stuff. So we had our small bags on us, and we put the life jackets on, grabbed the small bags, went up into the common area where people normally sit together and chill out, and it was like the scene of a film. This area was filling up with water so quickly. There was just junk floating around in the water, people starting to panic. It genuinely felt like the scene of a movie. We realised that the boat was beginning to take on water and it was going to sink. The most scary point for me was actually the point the lights went out. It feels like the scene of a film, you know, Titanic, where the lights go out, and we felt very small and very alone and very lost. And it dawned on me at that point that there's a very good chance that we would end up in the water at night just trying to survive. And if you've ever seen news stories about these sorts of situations where people go overboard or there are shipwrecks, people just drift off into the ocean, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks, sometimes never to be found. And I think it really hit me at that point. It's like, this is a life or death situation. This is really, really scary. So something kind of switched in me. I thought, okay, we need to think about survival here. So the little bag that I was carrying, which had a laptop and some cameras and valuable stuff in, thought we're going to have to get some fresh water here. That's going to be the thing that's going to help us if we end up in the water at night. So floating around in all of the chaos and the junk were these half-full bottles of fresh water, and that's what you need. You might think, oh, the ocean's great, you've got all the water you want to drink, but it's salty water, it won't hydrate you. In fact, if you drink seawater, it just makes you sick. But these bottles of fresh water were exciting, so it's like, this will keep us going. We've got life jackets. So I basically emptied all of this valuable stuff from my bag, and obviously it's no longer valuable to us, right? Technology has a high financial cost. You know, it's expensive to buy, but what's its value? When you're in a shipwreck, when you're fearing for your very life, what's the value of that stuff? Well, it's not as valuable as fresh water. So I emptied all of this kind of valuable technology into the water to grab the more valuable bottles of fresh water, the stuff that would sustain us and keep us going in the ocean. But what really hit me was that the people we were with, I've not shared my faith with them. I've not told them about Jesus. Now, as a Christian, I believe that the answer to life, the way to get to know God, is through his son Jesus. God has revealed himself decisively in Jesus Christ, and you can have a personal relationship with God through faith and get to know him deeply and intimately. If you just invite him in, he searches for a willing heart, and if you just open your heart and you accept God, then he will come rushing in. I love that parable of the lost son, where the lost son returns home, and it says that the father sees a lost son coming from a distance. And I realised I'd not shared this faith, this hope, with the people that we were travelling with. So in the dark at night, I said, guys, this is getting pretty scary, we need to pray. So as a group, we actually stood there in the dark in the sinking boat at night, and as a group we just prayed together, me and my wife and these other people, and we prayed that God would save us. We prayed out loud, and the next thing we knew is that the boat had come to rest on the reef that would hit. A wave had pushed this boat onto the rock, and it was resting there safe and firm, and we were so thankful, we were so grateful, and we climbed onto the top of this boat. And the atmosphere changed. There was a sense of peace, a sense of calmness to the group, because we knew that we were going to be at least okay for the moment sitting on this boat. But then the wait began, so we were basically sitting on top of this broken boat, this broken catamaran, in the middle of the ocean, in the dark at night, no idea where we were, and beginning to contemplate how we might, if possible, get back to dry land, whether there might be some rescue sent out to come and find us. So we sat there and we waited and we waited and we waited, and eventually it started getting light, and we were able to kind of assess the situation more accurately. So the boat had basically hit an offshore coral reef. The water was a few meters deep on this reef. There were clearly some very strong currents moving across the reef. At the side of the reef, we could see the water being brought up and these huge waves crashing over the reef, and then about 5 miles away we could see these misty mountains in the distance, and that was, we presume, mainland Panama. Now, if we were even able to make it there, 5 miles of swimming in that kind of water is likely to be lethal, but if we could even make it there, we'd be hitting jungle, thick, dense jungle on the coast. No idea where the nearest civilization is or how we could navigate to find it. So we had a dilemma. Do we stay on this boat, and do we risk maybe a storm coming in or the boat breaking to pieces, or do we try and swim? And if we try and swim, what kinds of risks are we taking? So our first thing was like, well, we're not in any immediate risk, so let's just stay on this boat. Let's wait this out. Let's see what happens. This is a new incident. There should be people hopefully looking for us at some point. And we waited and we waited, and obviously you have to kind of keep your spirits up. The time passed, and many hours later, someone said, I see a boat, and we were kind of all looking around, can we see this? And then on the horizon, this tiny little fishing boat paddling towards us. My goodness, the sense of relief was overwhelming. It was incredible seeing this little boat paddle towards us, and we just cheered and we celebrated. And actually this little boat was a tiny little fishing boat from a tribal village on a nearby island called the Kuna tribe, and they were rowing towards us, and actually they circumnavigated the reef, and they helped 4 of our people get back to their boat, took them back to the island, and they alerted the Coast Guard. What was awesome after that is we waited and waited, but we knew the atmosphere had changed. We knew that rescue was on the way. We had a different kind of hope, because we weren't just waiting with this kind of unsure, will anyone find us, do we swim, don't we swim? It's like, no, someone knows where we are, someone's coming. So the wait was a lot easier after that point, and after many more hours the Coast Guard did come. And what was really amazing is these Kuna fishermen came back, and there were more of these kind of little broken wooden boats paddling around trying to assist the military to help get us off this reef. And what really touched us and what really spoke to us is when we said thank you. We were like, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for coming to find us. Thank you for rescuing us. These Kuna fishermen were like, don't thank us, thank God. And they were wearing these like crosses, and it's like, wow, these guys are men of faith as well. You know, the same God that gave us peace and protection through this whole tribulation, through this whole traumatic experience, that same God is a God that they were saying, don't thank us, thank God. And they were pointing and saying, no, thank God. And that image just stayed with us, and it still stays with us. Had God not saved us that day, had those fishermen not come, and God used them to rescue us from this terrifying situation, I wouldn't be telling you the story today, and our family wouldn't be around today. We have 2 beautiful boys now, so it's amazing how life kind of has a way of working out, and things kind of come about that if you think the tiniest difference at one point in your life, if something had just not happened or happened differently, had those fishermen, for whatever reason they went out that morning, had they decided not to go out, maybe you wouldn't have been found, maybe you would have tried to swim, maybe you would have been lost, we don't know, but God's good and God saved us. So I just want to share a few brief lessons from this experience, and the first one is that God's peace has a power to sustain you. And it doesn't matter whether you're going through a full-on shipwreck, or whether you're going through something that's emotionally traumatic, like you're having problems at home, maybe your family's hitting a tough patch, maybe you've got sickness in your family, maybe you've had a tough time in school, tough time in relationships with friends. All of these things, they can seem horribly stressful and scary and overwhelming. And I think the first thing is, don't look down on that. Don't presume that just because you're not facing a kind of life or death survival situation, that it's not going to have its emotional toll on you. These things can be really taxing, really scary. The thing I want to share with you truly is that God can bring you peace. Whatever you're facing, whatever situation you're walking through, He can walk through it with you, hold your hand, support you and sustain you. So that's the first lesson. God's peace will stay with you. Paul puts it this way. Paul says, may the peace of God that surpasses understanding guard your hearts and minds. God's peace surpasses or transcends understanding and circumstances. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson is our value changes depending on the situation. So when we were traveling through South America, we went to great lengths to guard our valuables, our laptops, our cameras, all the stuff in that small valuables bag, because it has value. It's valuable. It makes sense to look after it. It cost us a lot of money, and it would cost a lot of money to replace. It's useful to us. But in the situation of a shipwreck, everything shifted. Our value changed completely. The fresh water became the most valuable thing. And I think it's important to remember that the things that we value and prize, it's great to have possessions, it's great to look after them, but don't overstate that. Don't kind of overestimate the value of things. Remember that the next breath of air in your body, or the next sip of water, or your next meal is valuable insofar as it supports you. And I think having this view of value and appreciating the things around us just creates such gratitude to God and thankfulness that He provides for all of our needs. We're so blessed. And the third thing I want to share with you guys today is that life with God is an adventure. If you choose to follow God, if you choose to live with Him and follow Him and commit your life to Him, life with God is an adventure. Jesus puts it this way. He says in John 10:10, the enemy comes to rob, kill and destroy, but I came to bring life in all its fullness. It really is an adventure when you trust your life with God and you commit yourself to Him and to follow Him and to follow His plans. Life with God really is an adventure. Okay, bless you guys. I'm just going to pray before I go. Father, thank you that you have a calling for each of us. Thank you that following you is an adventure. Thank you that you provide for our physical needs, and that you protect us. Father, I pray that we would know your peace every day of our lives. Whatever scary situations or horrible situations we're facing, may we know your presence and your peace and your protection. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys.